Well, meantime, Catholics across the Pacific are joining the rest of the world in mourning the passing of Pope Francis. The pontiff visited Papua New Guinea last year, and it was only at the beginning of April that he approved the canonization of PNG preacher Peter Torot, paving the way for him to be the first Melanesian saint. And for more, we are joined now by Archbishop of Rabaul in PNG, Rochus Tatamai. Archbishop Tatamai, welcome to the program. Welcome back.
And thank you, and good night to all our viewers.
Now, firstly, what's been the reaction in PNG to the death of Pope Francis, and how will worshippers there be observing his funeral on Saturday?
I would say at the moment, the breaking news was received with mixed feelings, coming after the breaking news of the soon-to-be canonization of Blessed Peter Torot for the sainthood, and then just coming at the same time is the news that he passed away, and so you can understand the mixed feelings. I do believe that there's shock amongst the communities and sadness, and a lot of the fresh memories comes back from the recent visit to us, so to speak, on the peripheries, and that was for us a very important moment in our history to see Pope Francis came all the way out to the periphery. To some extent, we are the remotest. And yet, in Papua New Guinea itself, we chose to go to one of our last provinces, in sundown provinces, Wanimo, which everybody is still finding it hard to believe, from the bright lights of the eternal city going into the very remote and almost to the darkest of the corners of Papua New Guinea. And I think that was the bright light. We can see how we feel we are being included, and especially as Pope Francis' main concern is inclusivity has been a big part, and also attention to the poor, the needy, and also he is strong advocate for especially taking care of our common home, which is the main encyclical that came out with the Laudato Si. I think we are on this end feeling the consequences of the industrialized world, and our little islands are feeling the rising sea levels and the rest. And so coming to us, I think a big part was really giving us the comfort as much as the consideration, and also we felt part of the big universal church.
Yes, and in that trip to PNG was one of his last overseas visits before he passed away, of course. What were your sort of personal memories of him, and were you able to get up close and personal, or even have an audience with him when he was there?
Unfortunately, this time in Papua New Guinea, I was doing the commentary with the journalist, and as you know, we just bring the pictures and the events to the people, and I kind of missed out that opportunity for a personal encounter. But I've had a few other personal encounters with him in Rome for a different meeting, especially with the issues of migrants from around the world, and especially also with when I was in my capacity as the president for the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands. We called all the presidents of the Bishops' Conference to talk about the pastoral care for the minors, and that was also one of the biggest moments where he just mingled around with everybody. Unfortunately, some of us couldn't speak any Italian or Spanish. We were English speakers, and so he spent little time with us. But those who can speak Italian and Spanish, he spent more time with them. But on the whole, he was very, smiling and mingling around with us. So we just saw him as one of us participants during the conferences.
Yes, and I suppose one of his biggest contributions to Papua New Guinea has been to approve the canonization of preacher Peter Torot to become the first Melanesian saint. Will that be the Pope's greatest legacy when it comes to PNG and more broader, the Pacific?
I think with this, his coming out from the hospital, you can hardly imagine how he took time to actually sign off the decree paving the way forward for the canonization. And it's, for us, one of the biggest gifts and what we may say a treasure that he presented to us. And we feel really part of the Universal Church to a certain extent, to the real center of the church, because the focus with this has brought us closer, even though we have been always on the peripheries and out at the remotest, we find ourselves right at the center. And so he made us really special at this time with all his pastoral visit and also making this announcement for us. I hope that the next Pope will take up the opportunity to give us a date and the event itself to take place. So we are kind of in gratitude and thanks to him for giving us this consideration, and we'll remember him and as a legacy for us. He paved the way for us to have at least the first saint of Papua New Guinea and a Melanesian.
Yes, and speaking of the next Pope, I mean, after the funeral, in the weeks to come, there will be the conclave of cardinals who will vote for the next Pope. Do you think the next pontiff could once again be someone who was outside of Europe, perhaps from the global south, or even someone closer to our region?
I think at this point, the universality of the church is like open to everyone. At least what we'll be expecting is the same attitude that Pope Francis, with his simplicity, inclusivity, and caring for the poor, and especially making everybody to be part of the big universal church. And so we hope that this inclusivity will be a big part in the next Pope that comes on.
Okay, Archbishop Rochus Tatamai, I really appreciate your time once again and for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you.
And thank you very much for having me on your program.